Assalamu alaikum. Parenting Hour. You're tuned in to Unit FM 93.5 here in Birmingham and 105.1 down in Luton. It's great having you tuned in today, this afternoon, this evening, mashallah, as the days are starting to get longer. I'm really amazed how they're stretching now and that we're having a little bit more light. So I can see spring is coming, is trying to come, even with all this cold weather that we're having. As usual, I'm sure you all know our numbers by now. We are here in the studio and our number is 0121 772 8892. Our email is studio@unityfm.net, and if you want to ring in or send an email specifically for our guests this evening, please do so. You're more than welcome to do so, and we will forward it to our guests. So this evening we have another very interesting subject that we're going to talk about, and a very interesting guest, because it may be useful not for you personally, but of somebody that you know, or a neighbour, or somebody else that you can pass on this information to about the work that they do. So we're talking to Sarah Finnigan. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi there. Well, thank you for coming into the studio.
Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. And you work in SANS.
I do, yes.
And many of our listeners may not know what does SANS stand for. They may think of it's something to do with the beach and building castles.
Yes. So SANS is a charity, and it stands for Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Charity. And actually it's been established now for 40 years. Wow. And it started back in 1978 by two bereaved mothers who were actually kind of connected through a media article that one of the ladies wrote, and the other lady responded as a bereaved mother. And so they basically started to support people in their local area who had experienced the death of their baby, I guess it's gone on from there to the organisation we know today.
Wonderful that it's there for 40 years, which is great, supporting people over that years. And is that just based in Birmingham?
No, all across the UK, and yes, we do have a head office, and that is down in London, but across the whole of the UK we actually have 106 voluntary-led SANS local groups, so there's a lot of people out there who are offering support to bereaved families. And
this is wonderful, because we often talk about bereavement in different ways, and we're talking a lot these weeks about bereavement, and a lot of our listeners don't know where to go to, where do I start, and there may be somebody listening to this that may affect them personally, or they may have a relative, a sister or brother, or a neighbour, or even a cousin somewhere up or down the country, and they can say, oh, I know of an organisation now that you can go for support.
Yes, absolutely. And certainly in terms of what we do, we've got really three core aims as a charity, and the first one, it won't be surprising at all, and that's to support anyone affected by the death of a baby, and the second one is to work with health professionals, so that we can try to make sure that anybody whose baby has sadly died does get the best possible care from health professionals and other professionals that might need to support them at that time. And also the third aim we have is to promote and fund research to reduce the number of babies dying in the UK. Very sadly, at the moment, the current statistics stand at 15 babies every day die in the UK.
That's much higher than I thought.
Yeah, that's before, during or shortly after birth. And actually, very sadly, 4 of those babies die around their due date. So to go through the whole of pregnancy and then to experience a death before birth, certainly in those cases, and ultimately, that there is a need to understand why this happens and improve the care that families receive. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Department of Health have actually promised now that they are going to halve the rate of stillbirths and infant deaths in England by 2025. Now, there's lots of things they're going to do to try and help this, but to achieve it, for sure, the governments in the UK will have to at least double the rate at which they are reducing baby deaths every year between now and then, to make sure that's achieved. And kind of in line with that, SAN's strategic aim is to reduce the number of babies dying by at least 20% by 2020. One of the things we do a lot of course, is to promote and fund research to try and help, in those circumstances. It'll be very interesting, I think, to see how the NHS does go about, reaching their target of halving the number, because, from now till 2025 doesn't seem that far away. And of course, unfortunately, as we know, the NHS is as challenged in terms of funding. Historically, I would say that maternity and neonatal services are often underfunded, and in the pledge that they've made, in the long-term plan that they've made, I know they have an outline of things they want to do, but I think it'll be the interesting part will be the funding, to see what costs are going to be there to allow them to achieve it.
It's always down to funding in the end, isn't it?
Very sadly, it is. But and of course, that's one of the reasons why SANS do put money into research and specific research. For example, in the last year or so, we've supported research to find out whether providing a specific care bundle for women who are reporting changes in their baby's movements can help prevent that person going on to experiencing a stillbirth. So, and actually that funding and that research is still ongoing now. So that's a very important part. And I think in where this has been piloted, there's certainly been a small reduction in the number of stillbirths. But of course, as you can appreciate, it has to be piloted again and again for us to see, outcomes, hopefully favourable ones. And
I see SANS are involved in a lot of work, really. There's so much there, probably enough. We don't have enough time to go into everything that you're doing. You mentioned about the Department of Health before and trying to reduce statistics, and you're working with them, etc. Can you tell us a little bit more around that and around your wider capacity and things that you do?
Well, we're very much involved now with the all-party parliamentary group for stillbirth and neonatal death. And actually, the co-chairs for that, Antoinette Sambach MP and Will Quince MP, are absolutely amazing support for the work that SANS do, and of course other pregnancy loss charities. And there's been a really big momentum with the work that they've done and the support they've given this year, certainly around the Department of Health's announcement that they're going to pledge to halve the number of stillbirths. And they've actually endorsed now the standards that are available for National Health Service trusts and health boards with the National Bereavement Care Pathway. Now, that has been introduced through basically it's like a multi-agency approach to this, and of course SANS has been a big part of it. So baby loss charities have come together with professional bodies and developed 5 pathways to support health professionals and guide them through providing the best possible care in different circumstances where families are experiencing pregnancy loss and the death of a baby, so that they're cared for in the right way, that they receive the best sensitive communication, clear communication, they receive timely information to help them make informed decisions about their care, about their baby's care, and about their ongoing care, even once they've left the hospital's care. It's out there in the community and other professionals that might get involved. So it's wonderful that the APPG have been endorsing that, and actually, interestingly, they also held their own debate in the House of Commons in October last year, which coincided with Baby Loss Awareness Week. Now, Baby Loss Awareness Week always happens every year from the 9th to the 15th of October, and they held their House of Commons debate at this time, and it was very interesting to hear them talk quite passionately, actually, about their commitment to raise awareness and to not only to reduce the death rate, but also to raise awareness. And the key to this, I feel, which is why it's so I'm so grateful to be here today, is actually to reduce the taboo, because it isn't spoken about, and people worry about finding the right words to share, and SANS has this ongoing campaign, finding the words, because people don't know what to say, and actually it's okay to say to a bereaved family member, I don't know what to say to you, rather than crossing the street or not knowing what to do. So it's wonderful to have such a huge, broad spectrum of support for the work that we do, so that we can reduce the taboo and, really extend our support services and our research to the maximum benefit, basically, and to reach as many people as possible. Certainly many baby loss charities come together during Baby Loss Awareness Week, in a variety of forms, really, but we try to light up local buildings and monuments, which making them pink and blue for Baby Loss Awareness Week, and that raises awareness. You can order the Baby Loss pin badge, which is the pink and blue ribbon, in the run-up to Baby Loss Awareness Week. Local groups have events, so the groups that I've mentioned locally, they hold remembrance events at that time. I know Birmingham SANS have a Flowers on the Lake in Cannon Hill Park in Birmingham. They do that every year, usually with the closest weekend to the dates, and parents are invited to just go along. It doesn't matter if you've never had any contact with SANS before at all, you can just go along to this event and take a flower and place it on the lake in remembrance of your baby, and at the end of the Baby Loss Awareness Week on the 15th at 7 p.m, internationally, all around the world, at 7 p.m, candles are lit in remembrance of babies who've died, and that is the wave of light. And certainly that's, last October, I think social media was really lit up with all these candles, and that provides support as well.
It sounds wonderful. I think we need you back around that time to talk more about it, to remind people about that and how they can get involved there. It's wonderful. Gosh, I'm really intrigued. I'm so glad that you were able to come today to explain everything that SANS do and the support you're giving there. And